Hey guys, so back with another video. Today I wanted to talk a bit about allowing yourself to just be real, to be authentic. Isn't that something that we all struggle with? I don't know if it's just me, but I've struggled with being myself for my entire life. Growing up, it was always about getting attention. Played a lot of soccer, a lot of football, and I was trying to get as much attention as I could get from my classmates, from girls, and it worked. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. It's not always a good thing to receive all the attention that we want. Why was I so desperate for attention? Well, my dad left when I was 3 years old. I had a lot of time on my own, like growing up. My mum was working a lot of hours. No kids to play with where I grew up. So I spent so much time on my own. And that just made me feel really lonely, really alone. And if you have trouble when it comes to just relaxing and being yourself, then you're going to want to watch this video, because I'm someone who's struggled with it my entire life. And now I'm here, I'm on this video, I'm putting this out onto YouTube, because I love now being able to show up as my most authentic self, because it was something that I used to find so difficult. I remember it being the worst was when I was about 16, and I was smaller. I was smaller physically than everyone else. I was quieter, and I really had trouble fitting in. So I didn't really know anyone, except the people who had come from my previous school. And I wasn't really friends with any of those guys. Not really. They never really put any effort in with me. And it was like I had these two friendship groups where I felt like an outsider in both of them. So I was so deeply conscious about the way that I was coming across. And I just kind of hung around the edges like a tag along. And it was, looking back, it was pretty embarrassing for me, pretty embarrassing. But I look back on that guy, on who he was, and he was in a lot of pain. He didn't really know himself. He had no confidence. He had no one telling him that he was important or that he mattered. No one to bring him up. And I guess if you're watching this video, if you struggle to be yourself, then you've probably had a very similar experience, because I think a lot of it is shaped in our childhood, when we are going through those years of trying to fit in, and we're very self-conscious. We're comparing ourselves a lot to others, and if we don't succeed in being able to fit in, then we start to develop a little bit of a complex, whereby we feel like we're always going to be this isolated person who is going to struggle when it comes to friendships and relationships. I tried to change that when I went to university, and I started to become more social, more daring, speaking out a bit more. But as time's gone on, and as I made friendships, I made relationships, but I found myself just constantly pulling away from people, um, detaching from people, and I think that goes back to that feeling, that fear that I have of of being abandoned, of someone leaving me in my life. And obviously my dad did that when I was very young, and it had a huge negative impact on me in my life. So learning how to accept people for who they are and where they're at, and not being afraid that they're going to stop liking me, stop loving me, stop being there for me, is very hard for me. And that's why I put on a mask. And we all wear masks all the time, especially people that show up on YouTube channels because they're wanting to express something to the world that they probably won't be able to do in person. Provide them with that platform to speak their truth and to express themselves. And it's exactly the same with me. So if you're watching this video and you're asking, well, how does this apply to me? How can I learn to just be myself? Well, when I realized that I was carrying a lot of pain, I was holding on to a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment to certain people in my past, it didn't make me feel very good, because I've always felt or seen myself as being a good person, like not like a do-gooder person, but like someone who has the right values in place, someone who's morally good, who forgives people, who's honest, and all of this other stuff, and seeing myself as being someone who wasn't like that, someone who was angry, someone who was holding on to a lot of resentment, someone who wasn't really showing up as as an honest version of themselves, that understanding, that reflection on me really started to hurt. It was very, very uncomfortable. I didn't like it at all. And it took me back to those times, and I had to start understanding myself a bit more. I had to start understanding how those experiences in my past had shaped me into the guy that I was back then. I did a lot of personal development, read a lot of self-help books, but mainly I started to become a lot more self-critical. I started to reflect on myself a lot more. And, we're taught that we always need to be kind to ourselves. We need to love ourselves, we need to be positive with ourselves. And, some of that is true, but we also need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be tough on ourselves. We need to hold ourselves to higher standards. If you were raising a child, then you wouldn't always let them get away with murder. So why would you allow yourself to get away with murder? I think the hardest part when you've experienced abandonment from a young age is that your emotional needs aren't really being met. You're not being shown that love. You're not being shown that attention. You're not having someone checking in with you to see how you're feeling. You're feeling very alone. from a young age. So you've got to learn to put your needs before your wants. So your needs are like things that are actually going to help you to feel a lot better in yourself. I'm talking about things like being more disciplined, looking after your body, looking after what you're eating, looking after the people that you spend your time with. All of this stuff can lead you back to a feeling of being inadequate if you're not conscious, if you're not working on that area. So for me, being more disciplined, I really started on that journey when it came to my fitness. So a lot of people make the misunderstanding that they're, lazy people, that they're not motivated, that they can't do certain things, and that's just simply not true. All you have to do is focus your energy on one area. So for me, that one area was fitness. I devoted at least 6 months to a year to, just learning about how to be fitter, like learning the techniques. I hired a personal trainer for 3 months, and that really, really helped me to improve my discipline. I created that physique. I created something visual for me, because I've always been an extremely visual person. I've always been quite conscious when it comes to the way that I look and my image. So that was really important for me to create something not only that looked good, but something that made me feel like I could achieve something significant in my life. Because prior to that point, I was very good at academics. I mean, like, I wasn't the best. I wasn't ever the best in my classes, but I was one of the best, and that was simply because I was very fortunate to have parents that drummed education into me from a very young age. And whilst I had to work hard, it was never something that I was unsure of myself on. It was never something that I doubted that I would be able to achieve if I just put in the work, if I applied myself. Now, getting into great shape was something completely different. I never really believed that I would be capable of being really muscular and having a six pack and stuff like that. I didn't believe that I was that kind of person, that had that thing, that aesthetic, that image, because it all stems back to what I feel, what I believe, what I see as that aesthetic look, what that means about a person. We rules kind of send this message that, being like ripped and shredded, you're going to be really cool, you're going to be really popular, all the girls are going to want you and all of this. And whilst a little bit of that is true, whilst you get a bit more respect, you feel more confident in yourself, it's not like everything comes to you just because you're shredded and in shape. It's just not true, and it's not going to dramatically change who you are and your personality. But and that experience, that kind of realization that I'm not gonna just dramatically change, like, I'm just by changing my body, I'm not gonna change who I am, because I didn't really like myself. I thought that I was weak. I thought I was awkward. I thought that I was shy, and reserved and all of that stuff. And it took me a lot of time to just understand that it wasn't necessarily about me. It was, the kind of people that I was associating myself with, people that weren't really on the same wavelength as me, people that weren't aligned in terms of what I value in my life, which is, firstly, being a good person, saying and doing the right thing, helping people and making an impact on people, being unique and being different and being brave enough to express yourself, and enjoying life, enjoying the process, not worrying so much about outcomes. And I think that men in general tend to look at life from a very rational, logical perspective. And I've always been a lot more emotional, a lot more intuitive, a lot more feeling based, and I don't struggle when it comes to connecting with others, with other people's emotions and stuff like that. Hence why I'm a coach. So, learning that you are okay as you are, that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing that you need to do to change who you are if you don't want to. Change and personal development, personal growth, it needs to be something that you're doing for enjoyment, something that you're doing to move forward and create more in your life, whether that's to create a sense of confidence or to improve your finances or whatever it is. It needs to be something that is being motivated from a place of self-love rather than a place of self-hatred. Like, you're not trying to move away from yourself by achieving these things. You're simply trying to give yourself even more because you feel like you deserve it. So as it comes to just being yourself, you need to forget about why you want to just be yourself. I know a lot of people will want to just be themselves so that they can achieve these great things, right? But that all comes back to a place of lack. Like, you feel like you're lacking those things in your life. Hence why you want to learn how to be yourself. A much more powerful place to start is, I want to learn to be myself because I want to enjoy being me more. That's a lot more powerful reason to want to be more authentic, and that's the only place that you can start. You need to heal from those wounds. You need to understand why you don't like yourself in the first place, and you have to learn to forgive. Hope that advice helps. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you all soon.